Good morning, 5th of February today. Quite a beautiful morning actually, very cold. We had a cold start, it was just on 0 degrees, there was a frost over the car windscreens. It's exactly a month since I did a post in the garden. I think it was the 1st of January when I did the post. So we're going to take a quick look around. I'm starting off down in the garden, that's a turkey saying good morning. We'll start off down in the garden. I've had quite a few lads questioning me about trench preparation, when should they be cutting the green manure that they've got or digging it back in the garden. Also how we're going to compete against climate change. I've built a big outside bench here which I'll show you. But I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll take a little look around. Right, as we can see, this is a triple span tunnel. 1, 2, 3. The bottom two hoops, which are both 24 foot wide, torn to shreds with the weather. These aren't old skins, 3-year-old probably maximum, but torn to shred, and then that was the heat. I've got anti-hotspot tape on the structure, and it still melted through the polythene, and when we've got the winds come over the winter, it's torn them to shreds. Everywhere there's a hoop, it's torn right across. So they'll be to renew this spring. We'll move down and take a look inside. This is the bench that I've been building. It's on a slope, so we can see it's different heights. I've got it nice and level. It's in front of the turkeys over there. These are the poultry houses. And as we can see, I'm going to grow 40 leeks in this size container. Where are we? They are 30-litre buckets, and I'm going to grow maybe 8 leeks of each variety, so I can get five different varieties on that bench. I'm going to grow them outside. I can put hoops over them to protect them from the weather, but my intention is to grow outside as long as possible. Cover them at the last minute if they're looking any good for the bench. If not, they'll just be left for stock purposes. But it's just to try and beat the climate change. Moving down into the tunnels. These trenches were all just dug over. There's been no fertiliser or anything added. This is Caliente mustard. It will be chopped up. This is standing at about 4 or 5 inches tall. I'll take a set of shears onto this. These will be chopped up in the next week or two and then be dug in. I do believe by crushing some of the stems and the foliage, it will release a gas which helps to sterilise the beds. I put a winter mix in here, but it wasn't a very good winter mix. There's very little survived after the hard frost that we've had. And there's one bed where I dug the last bed that seems to have nothing on it. That was actually prepared with leaf mould, and obviously the worms have been put in. If you remember, I put the worms in here. I emptied 10,000 worms into the trenches. These beds have been stripped out. They're where the blanched leeks and onions were grown. Again, this is the stock tunnel. Some stocks looked okay, but quite a bit of it's taken a right hammering with the frost. We've had severe frost, but a lot of the king pods are coming through, and a lot of the stock plants, they need cleaned off, but it's still a bit early for me to do that. But as we can see through to the bare sky here, this is the second tunnel that's all ripped open. So it's 2 new skins on the bottom 2 tunnels. Right, I'm going to put you on hold. We'll go up into the greenhouse and we'll have a look what's going on inside there. It's lovely to see the snowdrops. This is the start of spring when you see your snowdrops popping through. Not fully open yet, they're just buds just ready to burst open. But I love to see that, and it lets us know that spring is on its way. I'm fortunate because the sun is just starting to hit the greenhouse and the plants inside are starting to grow quite well because of it. Right, we'll start off with the onion stock plants. These were all very large onions. Some of these were actually about 14 pound in weight, and they've been stripped down. As you can see, I always strip them right down to the core, or almost to the core. I split the sides open, as we can see here, just to let the green pop through, and it gets all the rubbish off them. Right, moving across. These are all different varieties of leeks all the way through at various stages. I'm still setting onions at the moment, as we can see here. These were just set yesterday. I'm still taking orders for onions, and people are still coming on for large quantities, to be honest with you. So we've just set those yesterday. Usually every 2 or 3 weeks I do a batch. Just tested my own tomato seed and a few of my own pepper seeds, just starting to pop through there. They've done very well over the last week, the last year or two. The compost I'm using at the moment, excuse me, I have got a cold, as most people in the country seem to have at the minute. The compost I'm using is the pot bedding Clover Professional. It's the red bags. I did explain the different compost, I think it was on January the 1st. Right, moving along, let's take a look. This one is Peter Carey's, his number 1 hybrid. It's growing quite well. Has got a virus in it, which detracts from the plant, but never mind. It's growing okay, and it ends up a good leek. We've got the Ballsworth Blanche leek. Very fine at the moment, nice and clean. I'm quite happy with those. They're not oversized. Nothing's had lights on here. I have got a few onions which have had lights, which we'll take a look at shortly. What have we got here? Oh, these are virus-free Cumbrian. All just in 1 litre pots. Most of them have been potted up about 2 weeks now, and they're settling down quite nicely. If you remember, I did a trial with peat free. These were in peat free. This is King Charles. And moving further along, these were in clover. So you can see the difference. The clover is much bigger plants. It's not necessarily a good thing. They're a little bit long at the moment. If they don't drop back, I will nick them. As I said, these were actually Blanche leek seedlings, but didn't go over 6 inches, so I'm growing it as a pot leek. Then we move along onto what I've called Prince William. It seems to be a little bit more vigorous at the moment. Having said that, the seedling wasn't as big as Charles. But these were just grown in 15 litre containers originally, the actual seedling. And these made 15 3/4 inches around, just under 16. And these were only 5.5 inches in length. Again, well, they are actually showing signs of splitting back themselves. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, here they are starting to split their buttons and drop back. So they're starting to broaden out in the flag. Again, 1 litre pots, clover compost. This is the Blanche leek. It's from the same head as the first two, but this grew as a Blanche leek. It's showing great signs of lifting very nicely. It's looking like a Blanche leek. Beautiful and clean, as we can see. The foliage is lovely. And they're all showing signs of lifting very nicely. There's a couple of inch lift on each one. Not quite ready to put the collars on yet. There's my finger next to it. That's my little finger. When they're as thick as the little finger, that's when I'll put my collars on. I noticed some people have put collars on already. I don't like to do that and pull the plant too hard. These should make length. As a seedling, it did grow to 20 inches in length. DN1, I grew this leek last year. Didn't have much stock of it this year. We only had the king pod from the original seedling, and it did get burnt, so I didn't have a lot of grass. And I've got some later set of tiny little pips out at the base of the grass, so that's quite promising. RMG, this is the Blanche leek that Niall Curry won down at Malvern with, best exhibit in the show. It's a nice Blanche leek. Very good quality. I'm only hoping that the new one, which I've called Princess C, performs equally as well as this, if not better. I'm hoping it's better. Moving along, PKH. This is one that Dennis Nuttall originally bought 2 seedlings from Peter Carey's hybrids. grew them on, and this was a very nice one. It grew up very much like the GSN, which was the mother plant. They're looking nice. This is the GSN. Just small at the moment. They're not big, but they're big enough for me. I'm not looking for really big stuff. Having said that, we'll come to one leek further along, which is quite big. We've got Kerry Blue here. This is Peter Kerry's blue leek. He's shown it to some enormous sizes. Again, these aren't big. I've seen a lot bigger, but I'm more than happy with those. 1 litre pots, nowhere near as well, almost as thick as a pencil, I would say. Blues, some more Princess C later set. They're coming away very nicely, and they look every bit a good Blanche leek at the moment. I've potted a few CSC up just for stock. Not that I'll be growing it in my trenches. But never mind, it's a very popular leek. It does show well. Prince Charles, these are the King Charles. These were the tiny little pips I was talking about that come on the base of the head, growing. Well, they're growing away nicely now. These were late set. They're very small, as you can see, and I have nicked these as I've actually potted them up. Moving on to something a lot larger. These are in 3 litre pots. Again, just clover pot bedding compost, and they're looking very nice, beautiful and clean. This is Kevin Young's seedling that he got from Peter Kerry's hybrids. So out of Peter's hybrids, there's quite a few nice leeks appearing here, and as you can see, they're popping their buttons and going back, looking very nice. Now I'll move on to some. In the water barrels, I have got seaweed, liquid seaweed, and the plants are getting watered with liquid seaweed. A few onions still to be pricked out. Right, we've got Canto here, which is an 8-ounce onion, 250 gram. They're looking nice. They're just in 12 pack. That's the late set DN2. If you remember, I set those away beginning of January. Some onions I just pricked out yesterday. Right, I did put 5, well, I've put 10 onions on light, but the 5 on the right here, this is my own seed, and this was actually set on the 12th of November. That seed was set on the 12th of November. And what I did, I put some of those into 7 centimetre pots, and I put them on the grow lights in the growth cabinet, which I said I wasn't going to use this year, but I had to put the lights on for a short space of time. They were put into the cabinet and they were left in for about 10 days. They grew away really well, and since then they've been brought out, moved up into 1 litre pots, and now I've just potted them yesterday up into 5 litre pots. Again, just clover pot bedding compost. They're quite decent, and they're making, a reasonable growth. These ones, these weren't set until the 25th of the 11th. Again, it's my own seed. So they're not old plants, but what I did with these, I potted them on while they were small, just left them growing naturally, and then I put some on the lights 10 days ago. I only took them out of the lights yesterday. They were in a 2 litre pot, and the pot was full of roots. There seemed to be a lot more vigour in those because they're a week or two later than this batch, but they were put on the lights at a later stage in a larger pot, and I think they've grown better because of that. Again, they were in the light cabinet, I think it was about 8 days. That's on 24 hours. They're off the lights now, and they're not receiving any light now. So we'll just let them grow naturally and see how they do. They're not particularly early. I wasn't looking for giants. I was more or less looking for my quality onions, but I thought I would just push a few on and we'll see where they end up. I wasn't going to grow any Cumbrian this year, but this was a beautiful straight Cumbrian I had 2 years ago from Jimmy Dunnett's stock. Again, they were looking a bit virused, so I put those in the cabinet, and they've been in the cabinet for 7 days. I took them out yesterday. They were just in 9 centimetre pots, and I've moved them up into a 2 litre pot. So they're looking quite reasonable. Again, I wouldn't want to push them any larger than that at the present moment. We've got quality onions here. These are still in the 12 packs. I had one complaint about onions. The guy bought onion plants off me the beginning of January. He bought them in these cells and he complained. He said they weren't as thick as spring onions. Well, I don't really know what people are expecting this time of year, but this is about the size that you would expect your plants to be to produce 22-inch bulbs for quality for later on. So I'm certainly, not embarrassed by those onions. I think they're nice onions. They're ready to be potted up into possibly a 9cm pot. These are some that's in a 9cm pot. This was a batch which I think they were sown on the 12th of November. They've had no light. They were just put into a 9cm pot and grown on. And as you can see, they're looking quite nice. They're looking like spring onions. But they're advanced. That's my early batch of quality. So that's about the state of play at the present moment. There's nothing much to report. Everything I'm quite happy with. It's growing quite well. Everything's nice and clean this year, which is great. That's what we aim to keep it as. So all I can say is I do hope everyone's having a good season. I haven't been to many gardens. I was at Frankie Charlton's last week and his stuff's all looking nice. I haven't been to many others. I did call into Alan Stoko's. He has some lovely leeks and some nice onions. So hopefully we're going to see some good stuff on the benches this year. All I can say is good growing, everyone. We'll see you in a month's time. Thank you now. Bye-bye.